The first time I realized something was off, I was standing in our penthouse kitchen holding a glass of wine I didn't even like, listening to Layla laugh too hard at one of Trevor's dumb stories. He was making fun of some executive I'd introduced her to, calling the guy Marcus Jr. because of his haircut and shoes. Everyone at the table laughed, even Layla. Then she looked at me and said, "He does kind of dress like you, babe." Just brushed it off with a smile. But I felt that little twist in my gut. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm 38 years old, from Greensboro, North Carolina. Married up in every sense of the word. My wife, Layla Monroe, is the founder and CEO of one of the biggest real estate development firms in the Southeast. I used to joke I was her trophy husband, but in truth, I handled logistics, budgeting, and project management across her lower-tier builds. I wasn't just riding coattails, I earned my keep. We had the high-rise life in Atlanta. Private chefs, luxury cars, boardroom meetings over cocktails. Layla was the powerhouse, no doubt. Always 10 steps ahead. I was the calm in her storm, the one who remembered birthdays, sent thank you notes, made sure the crew didn't blow deadlines. She called me her rock, said I kept her human. Then there was Trevor, her little brother, 5 years younger, zero ambition, all charm. He'd never held a job longer than 3 months, but somehow always had a new toy. Motorcycle 1 week, limited edition sneakers the next. Layla brushed it off. "He's just figuring things out," she'd say. Except he was figuring things out on our dime. Trevor lived in the guest house of our Buckhead property, which he liked to call his side of the estate. He'd stroll in wearing robes he didn't buy, drink liquor he didn't pay for, and drop these slick little comments at dinner like, "Glad Marcus is still keeping busy. Wouldn't want anyone thinking he's just here for the lifestyle." Layla would laugh, but not the same way. The laughs got shorter, colder. Then came the comments. "Do you think maybe you should get your own clients?" Or, "People keep asking what you really do." Before we go further, quick note. Tell us which city or country you're watching from. Anyway, it got worse. Passive-aggressive check-ins. Did you invoice the suppliers yourself? How did that investor meeting go? Do you need me to follow up? Like I was some intern she didn't trust. Trevor just watched. Always quiet when the tension hit. Always around when it got uncomfortable. Like a shadow with a smirk. Then one night, I walked into the living room and heard them talking low. She was saying, "I don't want to think that about him, Trevor," and his voice, smooth as ever. "I'm just saying, protect yourself, Layla. Not everyone's as loyal as you think." I didn't say anything. Just stood there for a second, invisible, then walked back upstairs. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid there next to her in that freezing king-size bed while her breathing stayed slow and even, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just sat there downstairs letting her little brother talk about me like I was some scam artist. The next morning, she barely looked at me. Just said, "Don't forget the contractor call at 9, and walked out in a tailored dress and red-bottom heels like she was off to war. And from that point on, it was like every damn day got colder. She started nitpicking everything. If I left the light on, we're not running a hotel. If I spent more than 2 hours at the site, you sure you're not just grabbing lunch with someone? It didn't even sound like Layla. It was like she was reading from a script written by someone who hated me. One night, I came home late after a permit meeting downtown. She was waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, phone face down on the island. "You were with the zoning board for 4 hours? Yeah, city planning's backed up. You sure you weren't somewhere else?" Her eyes were locked in, no blink, no smile. What the hell's that supposed to mean? She didn't answer. Just walked upstairs like she didn't trust a single word out of my mouth. 2 days later, she forwarded me a calendar invite labeled Image Building Workshop for Marcus. I opened it thinking it was a joke. It was real. PR firm, personal branding consultant, scheduled through her assistant. When I asked her why, she said, "I'm just trying to help you take yourself seriously. You have potential, you just don't act like it." Take myself seriously? I shot back. "I run 3 builds for your company, deal with your flaky suppliers, and now I need a damn makeover to be worthy of you." Her tone didn't even shift. "I don't want people thinking you're just tagging along." That one hit deep. I felt it in my chest like I'd swallowed concrete. 2 weeks later, she accused me of skimming from our Lake Oconee project. Said some payments didn't match up. I pulled out every invoice, every time card, every delivery slip. It's all here. You can check the contractor's signatures. I didn't take a dime. She didn't apologize. Just muttered, I'll have legal take a look, and walked out like I was some stranger off the street. It clicked for me later that night, sitting in the home office alone, that this wasn't all her. Trevor had been whispering in her ear. He knew how to drip poison, real slow, never direct, always sneaky. Probably said stuff like, "Are you sure Marcus isn't playing the long game?" Or, "I hate to bring this up, but guys like him know how to cover their tracks." I'd seen him do it with her ex-boyfriend years ago, plant a seed, then let the doubt grow wild. So I confronted her. Waited until we were home alone, no noise, no distractions. "You want to tell me why your brother thinks I'm cheating on you and stealing from your business?" She stared at me like I'd just accused her of a crime. "Trevor never said that." "He did. Maybe not in those exact words, but he's making you question everything I do. And you're letting him. You don't know what you're talking about." "I do." "You think all this suspicion popped up out of nowhere?" "No. It started after he moved in. After he started playing concerned little brother while throwing shade behind my back." Her voice rose. "Trevor is trying to protect me. You're the one acting shady." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. "I bust my ass for your company. I've never taken a dollar that wasn't earned. I've never even looked at another woman. And you?" I pointed at her. "You believe you're freeloading little brother over your own husband?" She shook her head, like I was disappointing her. "This is exactly what I mean. You're defensive, paranoid. You're making this about Trevor when maybe you should be looking at yourself." There it was. She'd chosen a side. From that point on, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. The thermostat changed without me knowing. The wine I liked stopped showing up in the deliveries. My name was taken off a couple of project group chats without notice. No more check-ins. No more casual hugs in the hallway. I was sleeping next to someone who looked like my wife but acted like my boss, and not the good kind. Even the staff changed how they looked at me. Her driver wouldn't make eye contact. The housekeeper suddenly needed approval from Layla for things I used to handle. The final punch was when I caught Trevor in the kitchen, drinking straight from one of my rare bourbons, the kind I kept hidden behind the espresso machine. He looked right at me and said, "She's worried about you, man. You okay?" That smug little tone. Like he cared. I said nothing. Just turned around and left. I knew then. He wasn't just trying to protect her. He was trying to erase me. I didn't even hear her heels that time. I was at the kitchen counter, heating up leftovers I didn't want, when I turned and saw her standing there, arms folded, face locked in that blank CEO expression she usually saved for shutting down investors. And right behind her, leaning in the doorway like it was a joke, was Trevor, hands in his pockets, that damn smirk glued to his face. She didn't even say hi, just came in with, "We need to talk." I set the plate down. "All right. About what?" Her chin lifted half an inch. "About your behavior. About the choices you've been making behind my back." I looked between them. "Okay, what the hell is this?" Trevor straightened up, like it was his cue. "We didn't want to do this tonight, but Layla deserves peace, man. You've made this house a stress zone." I stared at her. "You letting him run this now?" She didn't blink. "I've seen the bank statements, Marcus. I've had people look into your calls, your GPS logs. You've been moving money around, taking meetings you never told me about. And now there are whispers, women, gifts, favors." My mouth went dry. "That's not true. Any of it. What women? What meetings?" Trevor stepped forward. "Come on, bro. I mean, if you're gonna cheat, at least don't use her money to fund it." I clenched my jaw. "You planted this. You've been setting this up." Layla snapped. "Don't deflect. I've seen the receipts, Marcus." "Then show me." I shouted. "Let me explain whatever it is you think you found. Because I never cheated on you. I never stole a goddamn dollar." Trevor crossed his arms. "Your tone's not helping your case." I turned to him. "You don't belong in this conversation." He smiled. "Funny. I'm not the one about to get tossed out of his own house." I looked back at Layla. "You really believe this? After everything we've built, this is how you handle it? An ambush? No warning, no questions, just accusations and your little watchdog here backing it up?" She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just said, "Pack a bag, Marcus. I need you to leave. Tonight." I felt like the floor cracked under me. "You're kicking me out." Her voice lowered, but it didn't soften. "I need time to think. Away from you. I've already contacted my attorney. I'll have papers drawn up." My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From disbelief. From anger I couldn't even express without making it worse. "You said I was your partner," I said quietly. "You said I was your rock. She hesitated, just for a second, then shook her head. I don't know who you are anymore. Trevor let out a breath like he'd just won a bet. I told her you'd make it hard. I didn't answer. I just walked past them, went upstairs, grabbed my old gym duffel, and started packing. A few shirts, jeans, my shaving kit. Everything else felt pointless. I heard Trevor's voice from the hallway. You should take that watch. Looks expensive. Might help you land your next gig. I zipped the bag hard enough to shake the dresser. In the closet, I paused. My wedding suit was still hanging there. Still pressed, still clean. I touched it once, then turned away. When I walked back down, they were both standing by the door like they'd been waiting to make sure I actually left. She didn't say goodbye, just stood there, arms still crossed. Trevor opened the door for me like a doorman. Safe travels, Marcus. I stepped out without a word, the cool air hitting me like a slap. I stood on the front steps of a house I used to help pay for, keys still in my pocket, heart racing like I'd just been robbed. And in a way, I had been. But I'll tell you something messed up. As I walked down the driveway, into the night with that bag over my shoulder and my head spinning, part of me felt lighter, like something toxic had finally cracked open and spilled out. I didn't look back. I checked into a month-to-month apartment off Buford Highway the same night I left. One bedroom, paper-thin walls, smelled like old takeout and carpet glue. The bed was stiff, the AC rattled, and there wasn't a single piece of furniture I hadn't touched with Lysol. But at least it was mine. I didn't hear from Layla. Not a text, not an email, not even a forwarded legal notice. Just radio silence like I'd never existed. Trevor, on the other hand, was everywhere. My feed blew up with his smug face, poolside selfies with some B-list rapper, flexing in rented cars, tagging restaurants I knew he couldn't afford. Always some cringy caption like, stay loyal to those who stay loyal to you. He posted a picture with Layla a week in. Her arm looped around him, fake smile on. Family first. Always. I almost threw my phone. I kept telling myself I was done. Just walk away. Let her deal with the parasite she let into our house. But it didn't sit right. Something was off. Too quiet. Layla's company was always buzzing. New builds, ribbon cuttings, investor teasers. But suddenly, there was nothing. No press releases, no coverage, no updates on the upcoming Atlanta riverfront deal. And the few posts they did make? Stiff. Sanitized. Like someone was trying real hard to look stable. I started digging, not out of revenge, but habit. I'd been a project manager for 7 years. Numbers were my language. I knew the company's build schedule by heart. So when I noticed the Southport development had gone dark 2 months early, I knew something was wrong. I checked contractor boards, bid trackers, permits. 2 projects Layla had greenlit in the spring had gone completely quiet. No progress reports, no city approvals. Then I pulled public investor updates. The capital flow was shrinking. Quiet exits. Silent retractions. That's when it hit me. I opened Trevor's latest post. Him sitting at a blackjack table in Vegas, bottle service in the background. Same week a major supplier had filed a lien against Layla's company for unpaid invoices. Coincidence? Maybe once. Not 3 times. Every time Trevor popped up online, some luxury suite, flashy purchase, or out-of-state business trip, I cross-referenced it with the company's asset filings and expense shifts. And there was a pattern. Funds marked for land prep in Charleston, posted up in Miami that weekend. Investment pulled from the Edgewood build. Trevor suddenly had a new Rolex. He was funneling money, not stealing cash, but bleeding the company through fake expenses and ghost approvals. The kind of fraud that slips past the top when the top's distracted or emotionally compromised. And Layla? She was too busy playing queen of the castle while her idiot brother was cracking the foundation from the inside. I stared at the wall in that crummy apartment, laptop glowing on the crate I used as a desk, and said it out loud to no one. He's robbing her blind. At first, I didn't care. She let him in. She kicked me out. She wanted space? Fine. Let her drown in it. But the more I looked, the more pissed I got. Not at her, at him. He didn't just ruin a marriage. He hijacked my name, buried it in lies, and walked away smiling. And now he was gutting her business while pretending to be the damn hero. I couldn't let it go. So I got organized. Dug out old project files. Made spreadsheets. Tracked timelines. I still had access to some shared folders, ones she probably forgot I was on. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break any laws. I just did what I'd always done. I followed the work. And what I found? was just the beginning. Once I had the patterns down, I pulled out the one document I'd never bothered to reread until now, the prenup. Layla had insisted on it before we got married. Said it was standard, no big deal, just protection for both sides. I was fine with it at the time. I wasn't after her money. Never was. But sitting there with a stack of Trevor's Instagram screenshots, a half-eaten burrito, and legal pads full of notes, I decided it was time to go through every damn clause. And buried in paragraph 8, subsection 3, it hit me like a freight train. In the event of divorce initiated under bad faith or proven manipulation against the non-signatory spouse, all standard division protections are void. Non-signatory. That was me. Translation. If she kicked me out based on lies and manipulation, I wasn't just entitled to my share. I could come after assets tied to marital earnings. Especially anything I helped manage or grow. And that's when my tone shifted. I went from hurt to focused. I started saving everything. Every GPS ping from my phone. Bank statements showing where I really was. Old text logs. Time-stamped emails with vendors. If I said I was at a build site on March 10th, boom, time-stamped photo, email confirmation, invoice signed. Then I went to war with Trevor's social media. Vegas. Again. Atlantic City. Turks and Caicos. Back-to-back weekends. And every post lined up with either a company loss, a vendor delay, or a mystery expense on Layla's books. He was living like a damn oil prince while her company was bleeding out. I used spreadsheets to map out the transactions, compared them against the company's LLC disbursement history, then sorted Trevor's photos by date and location. Once I cross-referenced the company's financial calendar, it was like staring at a blueprint of theft. This wasn't sloppiness. It was calculated. And he was stupid enough to document the whole thing with filters and hashtags. But I wasn't dumb enough to walk into court with screenshots and sticky notes. I needed backup. So I called in a favor. Guy I knew from one of our commercial contractors had a cousin who worked for a top-tier Atlanta law firm. They didn't do cheap. They didn't do messy. But they did specialize in high-profile marital disputes and corporate fraud. I booked a consult the next morning. By the end of the week, I had 2 retainers signed. One for the divorce, one for a forensic accountant. The numbers didn't lie. Neither did the signatures. Because when the accountant traced the payment authorizations, they found something bigger. Forged approvals. Trevor had used old PDFs and copied Layla's e-signature to greenlight withdrawals, sometimes using vendors that didn't exist, sometimes real ones that never got paid. On paper, it looked like business as usual. In reality, he was cashing out through a shell management group listed under an LLC with his name on it. The fraud wasn't just obvious. It was personal. He didn't just steal from her company. He used her name to do it. I sat in that busted apartment, papers stacked across every surface, and felt something shift. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a broken husband. I was the only one in this mess with a full picture. The accountant and attorney both said the same thing. I had leverage. Real, dangerous leverage. And that's when Layla called. No text. No email. Straight voice call. Middle of a Wednesday. I stared at the screen for a solid 10 seconds before I picked up. "Marcus," she said, like she wasn't sure I'd answer. "What's up?" I kept it flat. No warmth. No anger. Just business. "I think we need to talk." I leaned back in the plastic chair, phone pressed to my ear, laptop still open with transaction reports staring back at me. "Yeah," I said. "We really do." Because this time, I wasn't showing up hurt. I was showing up ready. I walked into Monroe Development's downtown office dressed like I was back on payroll. Pressed navy blazer, leather briefcase in hand, haircut tight. I hadn't slept much the night before, but adrenaline had me wired. I wasn't there to beg. Layla's assistant gave me a stiff nod and led me into one of the glass conference rooms on the 22nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling skyline view, polished everything. Cold as hell in there. On purpose, I figured. She was already seated, hands folded over a legal pad, dressed in power gray with heels sharp enough to slice drywall. Across from her sat Trevor, leaned back like he was interviewing for the throne. Layla didn't smile. "Marcus." "Layla." I sat down across from them and set the briefcase on the table. Didn't open it yet. Just let it sit. She didn't ask how I'd been. Didn't mention the way she'd thrown me out like trash. Just jumped right in. "I wanted to give you a chance to reflect before this gets messier than it has to. I'd prefer we move forward with something civil. Quiet. Professional." I nodded slowly. "I agree." Her eyes lifted just slightly, like maybe she thought I was about to apologize. Then I pulled out the folder and slid it across the table. "What's this?" she asked, already frowning. "Divorce papers. Signed. My terms." Trevor sat up straighter. "Wait, your terms." She blinked, caught off guard. "Marcus." I cut her off. "You made up your mind the night you kicked me out. I'm just helping you finish what you started." Trevor scoffed. "You've got to be kidding me." "I'm not," I said, opening the briefcase. "And since this meeting's happening, I figured I'd make use of your time." I pulled out packet after packet, documents, screenshots, spreadsheets, notarized timelines. Her eyes narrowed with each one. "What's this?" she asked. "Evidence. Of where I was, what I was doing, who I was meeting with. You accused me of cheating. Here's my phone GPS logs, hotel receipts, flight confirmations. You accused me of skimming. Here's the paper trail, contractor sign-offs, supplier invoices, bank transactions. All clean." Trevor shifted in his seat. "This is bullshit." "Shut up," I said, without raising my voice. He froze. That stupid smirk finally dropped. I looked at Layla. "Every single accusation you believed? Here's proof it was a lie. Fed to you. Repeated. Weaponized." She flipped through one of the folders, slowly at first. Her face stayed tight, but her fingers moved faster with every page. I leaned in. "You want to know what I didn't include in those folders? The part where your brother forged your signature on 7 different disbursement forms. Moved over 400 grand to ghost accounts. Labeled it under real estate consulting fees, media packages, fake permits." Layla stopped flipping. "Excuse me," she said. Trevor stood up. "Don't listen to him. He's desperate. You used a shell LLC based out of Florida, Trevor," I said calmly. "Filed under your middle name. Didn't even try to hide the routing numbers. You were stealing from her right under her nose." He looked at her, panicked. "Layla, come on, he's trying to twist things around. I was helping with vendor relations." "Vendor relations?" I snapped. "Since when does that require blackjack chips and bottle service in Miami? I've got screenshots of your social posts lined up with the company's financial dips. Time-stamped. You didn't even try to cover your tracks." Layla stood now too. She looked between us, breathing sharp. I pulled one last sheet from the briefcase and slid it across the table. "That's the signature verification report. Yours versus the ones used to greenlight the withdrawals. 3 forgeries, plain as day. He used your name, your authority, to rob your company blind." Her hands shook as she picked it up. Trevor muttered, "It's not what it looks like." "You shut your damn mouth," she hissed. "How much did you take?" He didn't answer, just stood there frozen, cornered. She looked at me again, not cold anymore, just stunned. I stood, buttoned my jacket. "You wanted a conversation? There it is." She opened her mouth, like maybe she had something to say, but nothing came out. I walked to the door, let my hand rest on the knob, then looked over my shoulder. "Next time, don't let a snake speak for you." Then I walked out. I didn't get 5 feet down the hallway before I heard her voice. "Marcus, wait." I stopped, turned, and she was already catching up, still holding the forged signature report like it was on fire. "Come back in," she said, her tone stripped down. "No boardroom act this time. Just raw real. Please." I followed her back into the room. Trevor hadn't moved. He was still standing by the table, mouth tight, arms crossed, trying to look calm and failing hard. "Sit," she said to him. He didn't. She didn't ask again. I opened the briefcase, pulled out another file. Thick, labeled in red, supporting evidence, embezzlement, Monroe Dev. "I wasn't bluffing," I said. "Here's where the money went." I laid out copies of the transfers, company accounts to the Shell LLC in Florida, then to a second account offshore, Belize. Then boom, out to personal spending. I had screenshots of Trevor logging into online poker rooms under a known burner handle. Crypto receipts tied to his name. He wasn't just dumb, he was loud. I slid a tablet across the table, tapped the screen. A video played. Trevor walking through the Aria Casino in Vegas, holding a stack of chips, champagne bottle in hand. Time-stamped. Posted the same weekend, he claimed to be managing vendor outreach for a stalled property in Savannah. "You faked the vendor meetings," I said, turning to him. "Pushed out timelines so no one noticed the missing funds. Billed travel and consulting through the fake company, then spent it at poker tables and pool bars." Trevor shook his head, smiling like he still thought charm would save him. This is insane. You're connecting dots that don't mean anything. That money went through authorized channels. I laughed once. With a forged signature? He looked at Layla. He's twisting this. You know how he is. Overthinks everything, makes it personal. She didn't say a word, just stared. He stepped toward her. Layla, come on. You know me. I would never. You already did, I said, cutting him off. You knew she wouldn't look too closely. You played her, just like you played me. He pointed at me like a cornered brat. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? Bitter you got kicked out. Mad she trusted me instead of you. No, I said calmly. I'm mad you stole $417,000 from the company I helped build. Layla blinked. What? I looked at her. That's the total. Between the forged authorizations, the vendor kickbacks, and the unreported withdrawals, 417 grand. Documented. Trevor stammered. That's not even true. Layla snapped. Enough. She stood, slammed both palms on the table, and glared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. How much? She said. Her voice dropped, tight and trembling. How much, Trevor? He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried to chuckle, like this was still salvageable. You're really taking his side now. She didn't answer, just pulled out her phone, turned away from him, and made 2 calls. First was to building security. Second, her attorney. Her voice was calm, but clipped. We'll need someone escorted off the premises. And I'll need a full internal audit pulled within the hour. Trevor stepped forward. Layla, you can't do this. I'm your brother. She turned, eyes glassy but hard. And you stole from me. He stood there frozen. Not angry anymore, just stunned. Like he finally realized she wasn't bluffing either. I grabbed the briefcase, slid the files back inside. She didn't look at me when she said it. Just stared straight ahead. Thank you, Marcus. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. I didn't sit down again. I just reached into the briefcase, pulled out the final folder, thickest one yet, and dropped it on the table in front of Layla. You're gonna want to see this next. She looked up, eyes tired now. Not angry, not confused, just scared. Trevor was still standing there like a busted mannequin, blinking hard, hands half lifted like he wanted to run but didn't know where. I opened the folder myself, flipped to the first page, and slid it toward her. That's your name on a purchase agreement for a luxury timeshare in Clearwater Beach. You ever been to Clearwater? She shook her head. No, that's what I thought. Next one, 2-bedroom condo in Key Largo. Bought in full, cash. Closed with a forged signature, notarized by a fake agent. Again, under your name, through a holding company Trevor set up 3 months ago. She picked it up with both hands, reading fast, breathing shallow. Palm Springs, Myrtle Beach, Aspen. He didn't just steal from your business. He used your name to acquire real estate assets illegally. Made it look like Monroe Development was expanding into luxury rentals. Trevor finally found his voice. I was planning investments. That was for her future. I was protecting the brand. Shut the hell up, I snapped. You don't get to use the word future after blowing through company cash like a frat boy on spring break. I pulled out the last report. This is from the forensic investigator. Took 2 weeks to pull together. Every property loan was secured using Monroe's business credit line, commercial funds, builder assets, leveraged without board approval. Layla stared at it like it might burst into flames. I lowered my voice. You're not just looking at theft. You're looking at criminal liability, forged contracts, wire fraud, and real estate fraud. If you hadn't caught it in time, your entire company would have gone under in 6 months. Maybe less. How much? She whispered. In total. I didn't flinch. 1.2 million, including losses from the gambling accounts. Trevor dropped into the chair like his knees gave out. That's not possible, he muttered. It wasn't that much. I didn't mean to. No one cares what you meant. I shot back. You were sloppy, entitled, and reckless. You gambled with her name, her business, and her future. Layla pulled out her phone again. Trevor reached for her wrist. Wait, please, Layla, don't. She yanked her arm away. He tried again. I can fix this. Give me time. Just a month. You had months, she said through clenched teeth. All you did was take. Her hand was shaking, but she didn't hesitate when she hit the keypad. Who are you calling? Trevor asked, voice cracking. She didn't answer him. Monroe Security. This is Layla, she said, eyes locked on mine. I need Atlanta PD dispatched to the 22nd floor. Immediate fraud situation. I want him arrested. Trevor's mouth opened, but no words came out. Just the sound of breathing and the click of her phone hitting the table. The cops weren't even out of the building before she turned to me. "Marcus," she said, voice low. "Can we talk? Alone?" I nodded once, followed her into her office. She closed the door behind us, leaned against it like her legs might give out. Everything about her, her clothes, her posture, her voice, looked cracked now, like the storm finally landed. "I didn't know," she said, barely above a whisper. "I swear to God, I didn't know he was doing all that." "I believe you." Her head snapped up, surprised. "I never thought you were in on it," I said. "But you let him run wild. You gave him keys to the house and shut the door on me." She looked down. I thought I was protecting myself. From what? She didn't answer, just walked behind her desk and sat, elbows on the armrests like her body was made of stone. I was scared. Everyone always wants something from me. Investors, vendors, staff, even family. And when Trevor started talking, I guess I let myself believe him. Because it was easier. Easier than asking me directly? Than talking to me like a partner? Her lip trembled. I messed up. I didn't say anything. Just opened the folder again. The same divorce packet she'd pushed me toward weeks ago. Except now it had new signatures. Mine. My lawyer's. I set it on her desk. She stared at it. "Wait. You're really going through with it?" "Yes." She shook her head. "Marcus, we can fix this." "No," I said, calm. "You can fix your business. You can fix your name, your reputation. But us? You can't fix what you burned." Her eyes welled. "It wasn't all lies. We were good, weren't we?" "Yeah, we were," I said. "But the night you kicked me out, you didn't ask questions. You didn't hesitate. You just believed him. After everything." "I was wrong. You were weak," I corrected. "And I can't be with someone who folds the second someone whispers in their ear." She stood up, came around the desk. "Marcus, please. You're the only person who's ever seen me. Really seen me. I see it now. What Trevor did. How deep it went. I see you." "You're late," I said, and I meant it. "You saw me when it was convenient. When I kept your world spinning. But the second things got cloudy, you didn't just drop me. You treated me like the enemy." She was crying now. No mascara, no drama. Just quiet, messy crying. "I want to be better," she whispered. "I hope you are," I said, picking up the pen from her desk and flipping the last page. "But I won't be around to watch." I signed it. Smooth, steady. Then handed her the pen. She didn't take it. So I set it next to the folder and stepped back. "Marcus," she started, reaching for me. I stepped away. "Goodbye, Layla." Her hand dropped. I turned, walked to the door, and didn't look back. Not once. I walked out of her office that day and didn't stop moving. 6 months later, I was standing inside my own office. Not a glass tower or penthouse suite, just a clean space in Midtown with good lighting and a door that locked. My name was on the wall, Hale Project Solutions. No partners, no backers, just me. And I was busy. 3 mid-sized contractors, 2 commercial developers, and 1 school board hired me within the first 60 days. I kept my head down, delivered results, and got referrals faster than I could take the calls. The business didn't just grow, it worked. No politics, no power games, no whispers in dark corners. Just straight, clean projects and honest pay. Meanwhile, Layla's world cracked. Investigations hit hard. SEC inquiries. Vendor lawsuits. Former employees crawling out with receipts and horror stories. Monroe Development became a cautionary tale overnight. The woman who once closed 7-figure deals on yachts now had reporters parked outside her building. I didn't reach out. She didn't either. Trevor, on the other hand, didn't get a quiet ending. The feds hit him with wire fraud, tax evasion, identity theft. He pled out to avoid the full sentence, but it still landed him in federal prison. Last I heard, he was locked up in South Carolina and not doing well. Couldn't say I felt bad. People asked me sometimes, friends, clients, even my accountant, if I missed that life. The big money, the flash, the power couple events. Truth? Not even a little. What I built on my own felt better than anything I ever touched under her name. It was mine, every win, every screw-up, every contract signed without having to check with the board. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Didn't have to prove my worth to someone sleeping next to me. And that peace? That was worth everything. I still remembered the night she kicked me out. The silence. The humiliation. The way the door shut behind me like I was disposable. Back then, it felt like the end of my life. Now, I realized it was the beginning.